My name is...
Will there ever be an Aqua Teen Season 13?
You may respond now.
Can we watch Rick and Morty?
Change that channel, you'll taste the blade!
It's been over 2 years since Aqua Teen Hunger Force returned to Adult Swim, and we've heard nothing about more episodes or movies coming soon. And with a short one-off 12th season, like many cartoon viewers, it didn't last very long.
Oh god, I'm so sorry.
And with only 5 episodes, it felt like a blink and you'll miss it type of ordeal. It wasn't as though nobody cared about the show coming back. People were upset when the show was cancelled back in 2015, and the second movie was decent enough after the roughly 8-year hiatus. Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm was a straight-to-Blu-ray movie project that brought the beloved characters back to our screens. And produced by William Street, the most notable difference was the upgrade in visuals, now having actual animation. Yeah, the fluid and detailed 4K resolution took some getting used to when compared to the wobbly PNGs of days gone by. And towards the end of the film's production, an executive over at Warner apparently discovered some leftover funds from the film's budget. They then approached the show creators Dave Willis and Matt Molero about creating a potential revival, and this led to a handful of new episodes for Adult Swim. As it currently stands, the show has not been picked up for any more episodes. It does leave things up in the air because the show hasn't technically been cancelled, it just wasn't renewed for season 13.
We were cancelled?
I'd say these new episodes were testing the water to see if the show still had a fanbase willing to tune in every week. And generally speaking, it received a positive response, but I feel the brief nature of this revival made it more forgettable. Luckily, Season 12 did receive some promotion leading up to the 2-episode premiere, with the remaining episodes dropping weekly. And I did have a lot of fun with this season, leaving me wanting more, which must be a good thing. And being well received is fine, but the fan demand didn't appear strong enough to push for even more episodes. And one major criticism I kept reading over and over was oddly about how the animation was updated. Some fans were disappointed in how the fluid and detailed style took away from the amusing visual charm that made the original series feel so unique. Personally, I really enjoyed the updated visuals and how some episodes really took advantage of that updated technology that maybe wasn't accessible during the show's initial run on Adult Swim. Another point of interest as well is how 5 episodes does feel like an unusual number for a renewal, but reading further into this, there was going to be one more episode squeezed into Season 12. If you're a fan of the show, I am sure you'll have heard of the banned, or I guess cancelled, episode called Boston, and co-creator Matt Molero confirmed on Twitter that they tried to squeeze it into Season 12, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. And it was originally made many years ago in response to a guerrilla marketing campaign gone wrong for the Aqua Teen movie, and back in 2007 this is where a bunch of light brights shaped like the Moonanites were spread around several American cities to promote the film, and Boston locals saw them distinctly homing in on the batteries and wires. Mass panic and reports circulated, resulting in Cartoon Network being fined at $250,000 for an alleged bomb scare. And there are 2 known versions of the Boston episode circulating the internet, one that is incomplete and one that was done very recently that was screened at a convention, and I've discussed both of them in separate videos on the channel if you would like to know more. Looking back at Season 12, it did feel experimental with some refreshing ideas touching on current world events. For example, advances in AI and technology, people striving to improve their health through fitness, and how blind desire can heavily impact our decision-making. And I really like the new opening credits that reaffirm this all-new style. It is based on the original show's titles before the series further descended into madness by renaming itself in the later seasons. Looking back on Season 12, Shaketopia is the first new episode, and unfortunately was my least favourite out of the final 5. It's entertaining for the visuals, where it excels by leaning into the updated animation. It adjusts the style to fit the storyline, where Master Shake buys a virtual reality headset from Carl. It's presumed to have been stolen. He then rules over a fictional land known as Shaketopia, but in the real world, he's just vegetating in the living room of the Aqua Teen home.
Hey, what do a dick look like?
Don't you draw a dick on him.
His brutal dictatorship over these innocent characters suits his monstrous personality, which is then challenged by Meatwad wanting to join in the fun. Their fight in the gladiator-style arena is really where this episode shines, with several callbacks to the original series, and the absurdist fighting styles combined with varied shots take full advantage of the updated visuals. The attempts at humour, on the other hand, I found a bit hit or miss, but these are still the same beloved characters, and I'm sure the voice actors appreciated bringing them back for this. Beyond the visuals, though, it's just a repetitive story of Shake and Meatwad arguing, and Frylock stepping in to try and settle their disagreements. We've seen this formula done beforehand to a much funnier extent, hence why I'd say this one is my least favourite. It's not a bad episode by any means. Shake's dialogue in particular, with how he's always so horrible to Meatwad, is still amusing, even after all these years. A Quiet Shake is a loose parody of the horror film A Quiet Place, and I felt was a huge improvement over the previous story. It felt like the perfect episode to bring back a classic Aqua Teen villain like Dr. Wong, for example, but instead, the creators stuck to their principles about this new season being all new, therefore not relying on what they've done previously. And I do respect this approach. It stops any blatant nostalgia baiting, with more opportunity to experiment with fresh concepts and all new ideas. And speaking of, this time Shake is being stopped from being his usual obnoxious and noisy self. In a world threatened by ear aliens sensitive to sound, the characters are forced to adapt to a new world order in the hopes of surviving. And the references to the 2018 film are great in my opinion, such as walking on sand and replicating the waterfall scene. Naturally, the responsibility falls to Frylock, who is expected to challenge these aliens and drive them off planet Earth. And I love how Shake goes back to being his irritating self. He doesn't even believe the aliens exist, and he faces no consequences for his loudmouth behaviour. He even convinces Meatwad and Carl to join his impromptu rock band, just for the sake of being loud. And whilst this is going on, Frylock does save the day facing off against the Emperor, the Ear Emperor. There's some awful puns to appreciate where they mistakenly thought Earth was Earth, their homeworld, and armed with a disgusting pair of Carl's underpants, the ears are infected and killed off. But this is where the episode does tank a little bit in my opinion. When Frylock returns home, he then gets killed by another random alien that apparently eats nerds. Very silly and abrupt, but I do like how this is one of the few occasions where Frylock is actually killed in an episode. The generative AI episode, script title The T's Are Twos, felt like a generous merge between the classic nonsensical writing for Aqua Teen, lending itself to the absurdity of modern topical events.
This laptop sucks!
And generative AI is still a growing concern, more so with voiceovers and celebrity likeness being replicated or stolen with no ethics taken into account. And these ideas are relevant to Master Shake, who is using AI to help write a ludicrous screenplay. He gets help from household appliances who write the script, where he just blindly goes along with their terrible ideas and takes all the credits. And I really liked the AI celebrity voices, which are luckily just impersonations. And there's a very random selection of names to look at here. We've got William Shatner, Sean Connery, Sylvester Stallone, Al Pacino, Michael Caine, Christopher Walken, Bob Dylan, Louis C.K., and Patrick Stewart. Some of these impressions, I will say, are genuinely really good. And with that, I feel there's some commentary here that was a bit ahead of its time relating perhaps to these SAG-AFTRA strikes. Although that may depend on when this episode was made, not just when it was aired. Like any AI slop, the generative result of Shake's movie is hilariously bad. It becomes more evident that the appliances are learning from real people, and with their massing numbers, Frylock codes a virus to destroy them all. The dialogue and celebrity impressions were fun, but this plot did feel a little bit predictable, just by poking holes in the worst aspects of generative AI, similar to other shows. I'll once again praise the animation though, because the appliance designs alone got a good few laughs out of me, simply trying to look like the celebrities they were impersonating. Another personal favourite was Get Lit Upon or Sit Upon, the exercise episode, and this is where Shake well and truly has put on the pounds. so much that he can't even fit in the doorway that's shaped exactly like him, which really cracked me up. The exercise bike with the holographic personal trainer was fun, but Carl's version is hilarious, the leprechaun bike that just taunts him.
Pedal fell off. I can't.
you aren't pedaling
My
yet.
knees are bumping
What the
against.
hell's wrong with you?
Shut up!
The twist this time around is that all the exercising has been to prepare the best of Earth's population to escape an apocalyptic disaster and hover away to a new planet. Those who can't afford these exercise bikes, well, they just get left behind. But is the world really going to end? That's debatable right up until the ending, where the trio really are screwed. Overall, a very funny episode, and I also love how they gave a voiceover opportunity to Ronnie Neely, the host of the Aqua Teen podcast Dancing is Forbidden. Even just playing a minor character, it's great to see the creators show their appreciation for him in particular, and if you are a fan of the series, give his podcast a listen. There's some excellent deep dives looking at individual episodes of the show, plus some all-new commentary tracks from the creators discussing episodes that never got a DVD commentary. Finally, we have what is currently the last episode of the show, and my personal favourite from Season 12, Anubis. And this is where Shake and Carl go on a friendship seminar where they are taken advantage of by their deepest desires. And all of this is a pyramid scheme, quite literally. And Anubis is played by Brian Cox, who goes all out with the voiceover. He hypnotizes the main characters with desirable visions in the hopes of enslaving them all into a cult. And this is to help build a pyramid-shaped spaceship. The plot does feel a little bit basic compared to others, but the dialogue is snappy, and the vision sequences are both funny and horrifying. And giving this episode the finale feeling, these shots of all the recognizable side characters and background characters from over the years are excellent. I deliberately paused and looked through each one, seeing who I could spot. Although, sadly it looks as though the Moonanites were not present, maybe they just weren't invited, which would be somewhat ironic looking back at their history with inviting people. That being said, this was a solid conclusion to the season. Lots to appreciate from the visuals and the cameos, and the voice acting is top tier, and even if this is the end of the series, at least it ends on a positive note in my opinion. It is a shame the future of this show has been left uncertain, but hopefully this isn't the end for Aqua Teen. As they've said many times, Aqua Teen will never be cancelled, and I'm sure they will be back at some point in the near future, but if you're getting withdrawals and you want to learn more about the production behind these episodes and the Plantasm movie, I'd highly recommend checking out a few episodes of the Dancing is Forbidden podcast. There's some great content covered there, including the uncertain future of the show, and I feel it would be foolish not to give Dave and Matt some more episodes, or at the very least another movie. Even with newer shows like Smiling Friends, Haha You Clowns, and maybe to a lesser extent nowadays Rick and Morty, I do feel there is still room for one of the classics in the Adult Swim lineup, and a show like Aqua Teen does feel timeless because these characters lend themselves to universal situations and scenarios. The humour is still bombastic and off the wall, and I feel there are still more stories to be told featuring Shake, Frylock, and Meatwad. Anyway, that's going to do it for this discussion and review looking at the future of Aqua Teen Hunger Force and the short-lived Season 12. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see more from this series. Again, if you are interested, I have done a couple of videos on the channel relating to this show, including both cuts of the Boston episode, the 20-disc Aqua Teen Hunger Force Complete Collection box set, and the Plantasm movie. I'll put links to those down below in the description. And for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios.
Are you threatening me?